The last message, 770 words. The stars were quiet now. Once this sector had glowed with the lights of hundreds of human ships, patrols, cruisers, carriers. Now only cold silence remained. The wreckage of destroyed fleets floated through space, like forgotten bones. Inside the last remaining human warship, the Iron Will, the crew stood in silence. Their screens showed the final broadcast from command, sent hours ago. It was short and filled with static. Last line broken. Retreat to safe zones. If you hear this, fall back. Save what you can. Then the signal cut out. Nothing else followed. No new orders. No backup. Just silence. Captain Dale stood at the center of the bridge. His face was hard. Tired eyes scanned the broken message again. Around him, the crew waited. No one spoke. They already knew what the silence meant. Earth was next, and they were the last line now. The ship itself was barely holding together. Scars from the last battle ran across the hull. Main weapons were offline. Shields were weak, supplies were low, but the engine still worked. They could leave. They could hide. But they didn't. "We're not running," the captain said, finally breaking the silence. His voice was calm, steady. "We may be the last, but we are not broken. This ship stands." His words hit the crew like a pulse of energy. Eyes that were once dull now focused. Shoulders straightened. They were tired, yes, but not done. Next, to the captain, a young technician named Eli tapped at his screen. "Sir," he said, "the enemy fleet is moving. Fast. Estimated arrival in 12 hours. Captain Dale nodded. "Let them come." In the engineering bay, Chief Hannah looked over the core readings. She shook her head. "We're running hot and we've got damage in 3 main lines. If we push this ship too hard, we'll burn out," her assistant said. Hannah looked up at the ceiling, then back at the readings. "But we'll make it burn bright." In the ship's AI core, a soft voice echoed. "Probability of successful defense, 0.4%. Captain Dale responded without blinking. "Then we'll have to be lucky." They began working fast. Every hand on the ship found something to do. Repairing, rewiring, rearming. Old space mines, left over from forgotten battles, were pulled from storage. The crew prepared traps. They plotted gravity slingshots, hidden spots behind asteroids, dark zones where they could hide and strike. The enemy was fast. They were cruel. They had crushed every human fleet so far with perfect precision, but they had not faced Iron Will yet. In the quiet before the storm, the captain walked the ship. He didn't give a speech. He just looked each crew member in the eye. That was enough. In the mess hall, people sat close, sharing stories of home. Some laughed, some cried. Most just sat in silence, thinking about what was coming. No one left. No one asked to escape. When the enemy fleet entered the edge of the system, scanners lit up with dozens of signals. The ships were sleek, deadly, and many. The crew of the Iron Will watched as their death came closer. And still, they did not. Back on the bridge, the AI spoke again. "Enemy has sent a message. Translation: surrender and your deaths will be quick." The captain smiled. "Send our message," he said. A simple reply. Just 3 words. "We stand ready." The enemy approaches. From one ship, one stand, humanity's final defiance. Amid fallen fleets. The enemy fleet moved like a storm, silent, organized, and deadly. From the observation deck of the Iron Will, the crew watched their screens as more red signals blinked into view. 10 ships, then 20, then 50. Their shapes were long and sharp, like knives made for cutting through stars. Inside the ship, tension grew. The air felt heavier, as if even the walls were holding their breath. In the command room, Captain Dale leaned over the holomap. "Show me their path." The screen shifted, showing a thick wave of red dots sweeping across the system. They weren't just hunting. They were cleaning up, removing the last human presence from this corner of space. Time until contact? The captain asked. 5 hours, said Eli, the young technician. And they know we're here. Good, Dale replied. Let them come. The crew continued preparations. Traps were set in a dense asteroid belt nearby. They placed old mines, outdated, unstable, but still deadly. Drones were reprogrammed as decoys. A signal jammer was hidden inside a broken cargo pod, floating quietly near the field. In the engineering bay, Hana's team worked non-stop. Sparks flew. Metal plates clanged. Pipes hissed. The power core was unstable, but they reinforced it with whatever they had: scraps, metal rods, even the parts from their own sleeping quarters. We've got one engine running hot, her assistant said. Could give us a boost and or blow us up. Save it for when we need it most, Hana replied. One push at the right moment could change everything. Back on the bridge, the AI updated its survival estimate, 0.2%. No one asked. No one cared. They had already made their choice. A few hours later, the enemy fleet slowed. The lead ship stopped just outside the asteroid belt. A strange signal came through, sharp, broken into pieces, but understandable. Human vessel, you are alone. Your species has fallen. This is your last chance. Surrender. Captain Dale stood in front of the screen. He stared at the message for a long moment. Then he gave his response. No. He cut the channel. The crew prepared for battle. The iron will powered up. Its engines rumbled deep through the ship like a heartbeat. Its weapons, half working, patched with wire and hope, came online. Shields flickered, weak but still holding. Lights dimmed in some parts of the ship to send more power to weapons. In the hangar, crew members carried ammo by hand. In the medical bay, they laid out bandages and painkillers, knowing what was coming. The cooks in the mess hall stopped serving food and helped carry power cells. Everyone had a role now. Then, something strange happened. On the lower decks, a group of off-duty engineers began painting a large message on the outer hull. They used white repair paint, meant for emergency marks. It took them 20 minutes to finish. From space, the enemy ships could read it clearly. We are not done. When the captain saw it on the external camera, he didn't say anything, but his eyes burned brighter. Inside the enemy fleet, the lead ship adjusted its course. They didn't expect this much resistance from one damaged human ship. They began scanning the asteroid belt more closely, but they didn't see the mines. They didn't see the plan. They didn't understand that for humans, sometimes one ship was enough. As the enemy crossed the outer line of the belt, the captain gave the order, let them taste fear. The ship went dark, silent and hidden, its engines cooling, its lights off. To the enemy, it looked like the iron will had powered down, maybe even given up. But deep inside, in its heart, the crew was waiting for the right moment to strike. The first clash, from one ship, one stand, humanity's final defiance amid fallen fleets. The asteroid field was quiet, too quiet. The iron will floated in the dark, hiding between two large rocks. Its lights were off, engines cold, weapons silent. The enemy believed the ship was dead or abandoned, but inside the crew was wide awake. Ready. Hold position, Captain Dale whispered, watching the enemy fleet creep forward. The enemy ships moved carefully now, scanning each rock and wreckage. They had slowed down, just as the captain had hoped. Hidden mines floated still in the field. They were old, rusted, forgotten during earlier wars, but Hana's team had brought them back to life. Each one was now armed with magnetic triggers and a deadly core. Eli watched the enemy signals grow closer. First wave entering the trap zone, he said. 10 ships. Let them feel it, Dale replied. A second later, the first mine clicked on, a soft beep, then fire. One of the enemy ships disappeared in a burst of white light, torn apart instantly. 2 others were hit by the shock wave, their systems flickering as they drifted into nearby rocks. Then came the rest. More mines exploded in a chain, lighting up the asteroid field like a thunderstorm in space. The enemy formation broke apart in panic. Ships turned wildly, crashing into debris and each other. "Fire now," Dale ordered. The iron will roared back to life. Cannons fired from hidden slots in the rocks. Weapons wired into the ship's old drone arms. Lasers sliced across the darkness. One enemy ship turned just in time to catch a torpedo straight to its core. Another ship tried to flee but hit a drifting mine and vanished. The crew cheered as the first few ships fell. "3 down," Eli shouted. "No, 4. Shields holding at 60% called out Hana's assistant from engineering. "Recharging reactor for another burst." Captain Dale nodded. "We keep pressure, push them back." The enemy regrouped quickly. They were cold, logical, and efficient. They didn't panic for long. The second wave pulled back, forming a tighter circle and firing into the rocks. Several old drones were destroyed. A cannon arm exploded. One hidden mine was shot before it could go off. Then the iron will itself was hit. The whole ship shook. Sparks flew across the bridge. A pipe burst in the hallway. Smoke hissed out of a vent. "Hit on the left engine," someone shouted. "We've got a fire." "Seal that section," Dale said calmly, "and return fire." The ship turned slowly, targeting the closest enemy vessel. 2 rapid shots hit its wing. The third struck its core. It exploded with a silent burst of flames, lighting up the enemy fleet once more. For a moment, time stood still. The crew looked at their screens. 6 enemy ships, gone, and the iron will was still standing. "We're winning," Eli said, almost not believing his own words. But the celebration didn't last long. "The rest are forming up," said the AI. 20 ships now. Coordinated movement, reinforcements arriving from the rear. Captain Dale watched the red dots gather like a rising wave. "They thought we were nothing," he said quietly. "Now they're paying attention." The crew prepared for the next assault. They were bleeding. The hull had burns, the left engine was damaged, and power levels were dropping fast. But morale had never been higher. They had done what no other human ship had managed in weeks. They had hurt the enemy. Back in engineering, Hana wiped sweat from her face. "We've got one last trick," she said. "The overload burst. If we time it right, we can fry half their sensors and give us 10 seconds of clean fire." Captain Dale nodded. "Get it ready." As the enemy fleet moved forward again, tighter and more cautious, the iron will powered up for round 2. The captain stood tall at the front of the bridge. "One ship," he said. "One stand." The crew responded in unison. "Let's make it count." Ghosts in the void, from one ship, one stand, humanity's final defiance amid fallen fleets. The second wave hit harder. The iron will shook under the force of enemy fire. Sparks flew across the bridge as systems overloaded. The shields held, barely. One more hit and they would be gone. "Shields at 12%, shouted Eli. "Power grid unstable," came a voice from engineering. "We're patching with backup cells." "Captain," Dale stood firm. "Keep focus, this isn't over yet." The crew moved fast even as smoke filled the halls. Wires hung from the ceiling. Medical officers carried the injured to the lower deck. Parts of the ship were dark now, abandoned to save power for weapons. The enemy had learned. They stopped rushing in. Now they fired from range, chipping away at the iron will bit by bit. "They're trying to bleed us dry," Hana said through the intercom. "We can't hold much longer." Captain Dale's eyes moved across the battle map. They were out of traps, out of mines. Their cannon arms were melting from overuse. But retreat was still not an option. "We need cover," he said. "We need space to breathe." That's when Eli noticed something. A signal, weak, broken, and old. It blinked on his screen, barely visible. "Sir, I'm picking up something. It's an old outpost, half a system away. Looks abandoned." Dale looked at the data. A faint signature, buried deep in the shadows of a dead moon. No movement. No lights. "What is it?" he asked. "Could be a mining base or a weapons cache," Eli replied. "Signal ID matches something from the Frontier War, Over 70 years ago. Dale nodded slowly. Plot a course. That outpost may be our only shot. The ship broke formation and fled, not in fear, but in strategy. The enemy hesitated. They had damaged the iron will. They expected it to stay and die, not flee. The sudden movement confused them. In the moment of hesitation, the ship vanished into the dark. They raced through empty space, engines barely holding together. The route took them through cold, quiet regions where no signal could reach. And still, that broken signal pulsed like a ghost whispering through the void. 2 hours later, they arrived. The outpost sat beneath the surface of a rocky moon, hidden behind a layer of black ice. The entrance was blocked by fallen rock, but scanners picked up metal under the surface. It's real, Eli confirmed. And there's something inside. Powered down, but intact. A small team suited up and went in. The tunnels were cold, silent, long abandoned. The walls were lined with dust and frozen air, but the deeper they went, the clearer it became. This place had once been a war base, and it had been left in a hurry. In one room, they found rows of sealed crates marked with warning signs. Inside, advanced weapons, missiles with old Earth military tags, energy shields, EMP mines, and something even stranger, 2 untested prototype energy cores, never used in any known fleet. They left in a rush, Hannah said, scanning the crates. Probably thought they'd come back, but they didn't. They brought everything they could carry. Back on the Iron Will, the crew worked like lightning. Old systems were replaced with new power lines. Shields were boosted with backup generators. Cannons were upgraded using parts from the prototype crates. It wasn't perfect. Some tech was unstable. Some systems glitched, but it gave them a fighting chance. Dale stood at the viewport looking out into the void. We disappeared, he said. Let's make them think we're gone. Let's make them guess where we are. The enemy searched the sector. They scanned every rock, every signal. But they found nothing. The Iron Will was now invisible, hidden under the frozen moon, silent and waiting. In that quiet, the crew rested for the first time in days. Wounds were treated, food was shared, jokes were told, and then came the plan. We don't just survive, the captain said to his officers. We strike again, and this time we hit them hard. The crew nodded. They weren't ghosts anymore, they were hunters. The stand begins from one ship, one stand, humanity's final defiance amid fallen fleets. The Iron Will rose from the ice like a monster waking from a long sleep. Its hull was still scarred. Parts of it were patched with scrap. But now, new weapons lined its sides. A fresh power hum filled the halls. The new energy cores glowed with life. For the first time in days, the ship felt ready. In the command room, Captain Dale stood before his crew. Everyone thought we were dead, he said. Now we show them we're not. The enemy had pulled back from the asteroid field, regrouping near a large gas giant. There their fleet had gathered. Stronger, heavier, more alert. The Iron Will would go straight at them, not in the open, but through the rocks. Eli pointed to the map. There's a narrow pass inside the asteroid cluster. It leads directly to their rear flank. It's unstable, full of debris, but if we go in silent, we can hit them where they don't expect it. Dale nodded. We'll use the new jammer, blind their sensors, get in close, strike fast, strike hard. And get out? Hannah asked. The captain looked at her. We'll see. The plan was bold, maybe even foolish. But bold was all they had left. The ship powered up and entered the asteroid belt again, this time deeper, slower, and darker. New mines were launched from hidden compartments. The jammer, now hooked into one of the prototype cores, sent out a low pulse that clouded enemy radar. Inside the ship, everyone moved with purpose. They knew this might be their last fight, but they no longer feared it. The AI spoke softly. Probability of mission success, 2.8%. Eli grinned. That's double our last odds, I'll take it. At the edge of the belt, the enemy fleet floated in formation, guarding a large energy station. This station powered the forward assault wave heading toward Earth. It was the key. If the Iron Will could destroy it, the invasion would slow down, maybe even stop. The crew knew it. They didn't need orders now. Everyone was ready. As the ship crept closer, the enemy finally noticed something. A signal. Faint, moving fast. Too late. The Iron Will burst from the rocks like a hammer from the sky. Cannons fired instantly. The first enemy support ship exploded, in flames. Two more turned and tried to run, but a new EMP mine dropped moments earlier fried their engines. They drifted helplessly as torpedoes slammed into their cores. The enemy panicked. Their rear was wide open. Their sensors still jammed. Their lines broke. Captain Dale shouted, "All power to forward shields. Get us to that energy station." Eerie, ship accelerated. Lasers flashed across its hull. Shields rippled. The new tech held, for now. A heavy cruiser moved to intercept. Too slow. The Iron Will fired a prototype beam weapon, straight through its side. The cruiser cracked in half, floating in silence. On the bridge, the crew was calm, focused. The energy station grew larger in the viewport. "Get me a clean shot," Dale said. "Target locked," Eli replied. "Fire." The new warhead launched, one of the old Earth missiles they had found in the frozen outpost. Its trail burned white-hot. The enemy tried to intercept. Too late. The station vanished in a wave of light. A massive blast echoed through space. Shockwaves tore through enemy lines. Smaller ships were thrown off course. Systems went dark across half their fleet. The Iron Will turned sharply, weaving between wreckage, heading back toward the asteroid cover. Enemy ships followed, angry, but disorganized. "Prepare the last burst," Dale ordered. Hana activated the core overload. A wave of energy pulsed from the ship, disrupting every scanner behind them. The Iron Will vanished into the rocks. The breaking point from one ship, one stand, humanity's final defiance amid fallen fleets. The Iron Will floated in darkness again, but this time it wasn't by choice. Power flickered. Lights dimmed. One of the engines was silent. The hull groaned with every movement. Damage reports came in from all decks. Every system was pushed to the edge. And now, they were falling apart. But they had done it. The enemy's forward station was gone. Their fleet had pulled back, scattered, and unsure. Earth had received the message. The crew should have been celebrating, but something else was coming. "New signal," Eli said, staring at the screen. "Large, very large, approaching fast." On the map, a single red dot appeared, larger than any they had seen before. "A flagship," Hana whispered. "It's their command ship." The bridge went quiet. This was no scout, no support craft. This was their real weapon, the one that had stayed back while others died. And now, it was coming for them. "ETA?" Captain Dale asked. 3 hours, Eli replied. "It's heading straight for our position." Dale looked around at his crew. They were tired, wounded, running on whatever energy the patched-up cores could give. They couldn't run. They couldn't hide. Not anymore. "We stopped them. Here," Dale said. "Right here." He gathered his officers in the war room. The hologram of the massive enemy flagship glowed before them. Its structure was thick, armored from nose to tail. Energy shields wrapped around it like a second skin. Their regular weapons wouldn't scratch it. "We'll never break through that," someone said. "Not with guns," Hana answered. "But maybe with everything else." She explained the plan. Risky, desperate, but the only one they had. "We overload the core," she said. "The prototype reactor. It's unstable already. If we push it hard enough, we can cause a chain reaction." "You mean blow it up?" someone asked. "Yes," she nodded. "And take them with us." The room went silent. No one argued. Everyone understood. Captain Dale looked at each face. "This is our stand. There's no one left after us. If we fall, Earth falls." The crew returned to their stations. Every action now had purpose. There was no fear, just focus. In the halls, crew members passed out their last supplies. They shared laughs, hugs, quiet words. Some wrote messages to families. Some just sat and looked at the stars. They all knew what was coming. The Iron Will rose from the rocks one last time. Its engines screamed as they turned toward the incoming giant. From space, it looked like a toy facing a mountain, but it didn't stop. The enemy flagship approached. Its size filled every screen. It blocked the stars. A message came through. You have resisted. Now you will be erased. Dale didn't answer. He simply gave the order. All ahead. The ship moved fast, faster than it should have, powered by the last unstable burst of energy from the core. Lights flickered. Hull plates peeled away. Fire sparked in the halls. Enemy weapons lit up the sky. Shields failed instantly. Laser beams tore into the sides of the Iron Will. One cannon exploded. A wing broke loose. Still, it flew. Still, it charged. Inside, Hannah and her team began the overload sequence. The core screamed as it surged past its limits. The enemy flagship opened its main weapon, but the Iron Will was already too close. In the final moments, Captain Dale stood at the bridge. "We are the line," he said quietly. "Let this be enough." Then, light. A silent explosion brighter than anything the stars had ever seen. The enemy flagship vanished. The rest of the enemy fleet watched from a distance, frozen, confused, stunned. And in the silence that followed, there was no more iron. Will one ship, one stand. From one ship, one stand. Humanity's final defiance amid fallen fleets. The explosion rippled across the sector. Waves of light and energy spread out in all directions, distorting space itself. Bits of metal and fire rained silently through the void. Where the enemy flagship had once floated, strong, massive, indestructible, there was now only drifting debris and glowing ash. The Iron Will was gone. Earth Command received the blast signal moments later. Long-range satellites picked it up. Analysts confirmed it. The energy reading came from a human warship. A single vessel had struck the enemy flagship with full force. Nothing had survived the blast. Not the enemy, not the ship, not even the wreckage of the earlier battle. Silence followed. Then a second signal came through. Weak, broken, but real. "This is Iron Will. Mission complete. One ship stood when all others fell." Then the line went dead. On Earth, people stood in streets looking up at the sky. The last war front had been silent for hours. No enemy movement, no new attacks. The OA enemy fleet had stopped. Satellites showed their ships, retreating. The invincible enemy was turning back. They weren't regrouping. They were leaving. No one spoke for several minutes in Earth Command. And then, applause. Then tears. Then silence again. Everyone understood the cost. One ship, one crew, one stand, and it had worked. In the days that followed, the name Iron Will spread across every colony, every station, every human settlement. People, who had never seen a warship before, whispered its name. Children learned of the crew who refused to run. Songs were written. Statues were raised, not because they won a war, but because they made a choice. When others fell back, they stood. Years later, at the edge of the system where the last stand had happened, a small beacon still blinked. It had survived the blast somehow. It floated near a broken piece of the Iron Will's outer hull, a piece that still had one message painted in white: "We are not done." A passing cargo ship picked up the signal and transmitted it back to Earth. Humanity responded the only way it could. They rebuilt, they armed, and they remembered. They had lost everything, except the will to fight, and that, in the end, had been enough.